Let's talk about the minor leagues. Let's talk about the other pros in the Astros system. And you know what? I brought a guy that you might want to talk to, a guy that we had on the show before from Astros Future. It's Kenny Van Doren, the wonder kid of minor league baseball. That's right. Let's get going right now. Yiner, tell him how it goes.
Yainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Heisman and Brett Htown Wheelhouse Chansey.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Locked On Astros. We're your team every day. This is Minor League Monday, a special edition with my man, Kenny Van Doren. My mate, Htown Wheelhouse. You can find me at Htown Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find me at Back to the Bullpen on X and Instagram. You can find me at Stros411 on X and Facebook, where I'm always positive, always Stros. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out. But hey, without further ado, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, the kid that knows everything about minor league baseball and then some, Mr. Kenny Van Doren. Thank you for joining us. Tell us where they can find you.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on, Brett. You can find me on Twitter, X, at the Vandalorian. Find our work on astrosfuture.com, as well as some podcasts. Still trying to get back into that. Have some conflicting schedules, but we hope to get some conversations as the season starts to heat up here soon.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of heating up, I know with Loperfido's ascension to the major leagues, that really took a little bit of steam out of the Space Cowboys, bats, because when someone like Loperfido's lighting things up, I remember when Jake Myers was lighting it up. When these guys leave, you're like, oh man, he was kind of our spark plug. But the Space Cowboys are having a better year. The Hooks are having a fair amount of success, and really, it's not about the wins and the losses, but it does help, I think, somewhere along the way where you get these guys and they're able to get into their league championships before they make it to the big show to kind of get that taste of winning. I just want to start right off the bat. Who in the minor league system right now for the Astros is hot? Who are the people that you guys at Astros Future have been focusing on?
Yeah, there's a couple. It's kind of hard to choose some guys just a month into the season. You run into some hitters who had, a 2-week stretch that looked really good. And you look at their overall numbers, it's like a 750 OPS. Sometimes it's a 700 OPS because they're picking up where they weren't really contributing at the beginning of the season. Things weren't going their way. Mechanical issues, just getting hot, and that stuff kind of happens. And you kind of look at some of the top guys at the top of the system right now with Joey Loperfido now in the majors. It kind of opened a spot for Quincy Hamilton to move back in to Sugarland after starting the year with the Space Cowboys. There was a series of roster moves last month that just shoved him back down to Corpus. Kind of an unfortunate situation for him. He kind of came out of that not with the best numbers, though. It was kind of unfortunate. Like when he was in Corpus, I think he hit 1 home run before he got back up there. And then he had 3 home runs this week. I'm just looking at Quincy's numbers now. 4 home runs on the season now in Sugarland. Wow. One of those was before he was sent back down to Corpus. And overall, just he's batting .250, but the slug is .714 in those 8 games and 28 at bats. A guy who's kind of fallen off top 30s recently with that core injury last year that sidelined him. Even when he was battling that injury, and he was known for being pretty much a speedster on the base paths, he was stealing bases left and right. Wasn't doing that, but he still was hitting very efficiently with a 792 OPS in the 2023 season between AA and AAA. So he's back up in AAA, and I just don't see if roster moves continue to happen, if someone comes back healthy and pushes down a guy, I just don't see why they would move Quincy back down to Corpus, especially after just a good series in El Paso, and albeit was the PCL. Maybe you want to factor in any of that with the elevation and everything like that, but still a very good series for Quincy. Another outfielder, Pedro Leon. I know there was a video that kind of went around that he hit a 500-foot homer. That was incorrect. Sometimes Baseball Savant and StatCast will track it incorrectly. Still a very hard hit ball. Pedro's having a good year as well. And I know we talked on the phone, Brett, about, is he a guy that can make it up to the majors this year? I think he's really showing it. He's been in AAA. This is technically his 4th time through AAA, 3rd time
Wow.
starting the season with the Space Cowboys, and he's had a series of injuries, hasn't really lived up to the hype. He's battling some roster issues with, is he going to play shortstop? Is he going to play outfield? Strictly an outfielder now. Didn't really ever look comfortable at second base. The infield is out of the equation, but for a guy that's, I think it was $4 million in that
Yeah, 4
international
million.
thing in 2021. So you want him to kind of turn that around. He's batting 308 right now with a 918 OPS, and we know he has the exit velocity. We know he can hit 110 plus. If I can even pull it up right here, looking at some of the top exit velocities, he's second in this for the Space Cowboys right now
Right.
in exit velocities north of 100 on the season, 104, 112, 112, 113. I mean, he's consistently hitting it over 110 as well in some of his hard hit balls. And he's second to only Joey Loperfido, who is
There you go.
no longer in. Actually, it looks like they're tied now, so he's no longer even in Sugarland.
So now, and I don't want to really delve into the Astros roster stuff, but let's just say, is it going to take the Astros maybe dealing a Chas McCormick or a Jake Myers away from the team to really give Pedro that look? Because I remember talking to Elvis Rodriguez, and he said, Pedro's a very good baseball player. He's just not a natural hitter. He said there are guys that are natural hitters, and he said that's why hitting the baseball is so hard, because to the casual eye, when a guy doesn't hit, you're like, but you're a professional baseball player. Well, that doesn't mean that they're all natural hitters. And he said, if he can figure out the hit tool, this guy is a legitimate 5-tool major league grade player. And it seems like he's hitting more doubles this year. He's making better contact. He has increased, or he's decreased his strikeout rate. It will probably still be around the 20s. You're not ever going to totally eliminate that, but is that what it's going to take maybe this year, is somebody to be moved or some major shaking up of the roster up top, because it seems to be a log jam and there seems to be a lot of utility guys, Cabbage, Dubon, McCormick, Myers. I mean, you can kind of keep going on. Loperfido.
Yeah, it is kind of tough because it looks like the Astros are looking for left-handed bats off the bench, and Pedro Leon hits on the right side. Doesn't really add that versatility that Gray Kessinger does at all 4 infield positions. And he used to play shortstop and second, like we just mentioned, though. That's out of the equation. So, yeah, I think it does kind of happen if the roster does get shuffled. I mean, if guys are also, if there's more injuries to the outfield or just to the position players, maybe he does leap somebody. But for right now, I just don't see an easy way getting on the roster. And I don't think that the Astros would necessarily trade, Chas McCormick or Jake Myers or any other outfield option to give Pedro Leon an opportunity. Like I said, this is his 3rd time through AAA. He should be hitting better each time he goes through it, through the PCL. And for right now, I just don't see a world that, the Astros make a spot open for him. It's one of those things where he just has to force the organization's hand and just push his way onto the roster and really just take any advantage if an injury arises.
Yeah. That's the thing. And I guess Cabbage is up because of, the potential he holds with the power bat. He's a guy, and I'm going to kind of throw you a curveball here before we go to the break, because I want to get your thoughts. Coming up in the Angels organization, he was talked about a lot. There were high hopes for him. Is this a guy that just, until he actually proves what they thought he was going to do, he's just always going to be maybe that quadruple A guy that kind of touches the roster and goes back and forth? Where do you see Cabbage projecting?
Yeah, I think it's a hard thing to say, because he just really hasn't had that production in the major leagues, and maybe you can lump him into the 4A group, but I just don't think he'll have that opportunity with the Astros right now. Just kind of where the roster stands of getting consistent starts back-to-back days and playing it through the whole game and not getting pinch hitting for someone else. And I think projectability, he could be a 4th outfielder, a backup first baseman to wherever that is. But for a team that's kind of, still trying to compete in the American League West and fight for a playoff spot, I don't see him as an everyday guy, but he in AAA, I think, he kind of, fixed his swing. He had those maybe not necessarily issues, but just was really slow out of the gate in spring training. Didn't really have many hard hits to his name. And so coming into AAA this year, he was 7th in batted balls over 100 miles per hour for the Space Cowboys, and there's some good numbers in there. I think only one over 110. So if he's getting hold of some balls in the major leagues, I think he'll stick around for a little bit. But then you also look like Greg Kessinger is biting at his heels to come back from this rehab assignment, and they might take a guy like Greg Kessinger over him just for the time being, or maybe Kessinger would just take a Maya spot. But I think it's where does he kind of fit into the equation to get consistent at bats to prove that there is projectability there to stay on the roster.
Yeah, exactly. And when we come back, I want to get a brief update on because JP France and both Christian Javier have started. I think Javier's pretty close coming back, and we're going to talk about who is this guy, Jesús Bastidas. He is really tearing things up. So we'll talk about that next. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. And look, are you struggling to close deals? Kind of like the Astros, business to business selling is tougher than ever. And that's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high value customers, drive high revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Right now, you can go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon today. All right, game off. We got to pause here. Let's talk about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that wheelhouse, but there is just so much good stuff on the Monopoly Go app. Look, I played it all weekend. I love this app. It is amazing. They now have time tournaments with your friends that you can work together to build each other's boards. You can move on to win bigger prizes, unlock great prizes, cool new pieces every single day, hilarious emojis, taunting your friends, smashing their buildings, stealing money from their vaults. That's right. Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every single day. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win and rent frenzies. There's always something fun for you to discover in the Monopoly Go app. So go there right now, get off the bench, download the game for free at the Google Play or App Store. Game on. Yeah, and like I said, I don't know what a Google App Play star is, but I think I meant store there. I misspoke. But hey, also we have this new thing called Locked On Astros Postcast, where Michael Connor has taken on Locked On Houston Sports, and while we're in season with the Astros, he gives immediate game reactions. He does whenever the Texans get in season, whenever the Cougars are in season. I mean, he's got everybody. So Rockets and so go check out Michael Connor. Just make sure you subscribe to our show, to our podcast, and hey, go over to Astros Future. Check out their website. Like, if you don't know much about the minor leagues, they are the go-to place right now for all things Houston Astros minor leagues. And anytime Kenny writes an article, I would highly suggest you read it because the kid does great work. Kenny, let's talk about JP France real quick, and then Christian Javier. Just give us a quick update of how JP France, how he looked, and not really demoted, but they said he had to work on some stuff.
Yeah, it's always a tough thing when you get sent down after struggling the major leagues and you have to face against guys who've made it to the major leagues, on the brink of major leagues at elevation, playing in El Paso and then the PCL. It's always tough, right? When that's your first one going down. I think you'd always prefer to stay home, pitch in Round Rock or pitch in Oklahoma City. So, I mean, he was in El Paso. He went 3 2/3 innings, didn't get out of the fourth, gave it 3 runs on 4 hits, 4 walks, and 3 strikeouts. I was looking at his baseball savant page, just looking at some of those pitches, because I was wondering if anything got really hit hard. The averages on, his cutter, curveball, sinker, and sweeper, everything below 90 on the average exit velocity. It wasn't looking like he was getting really just beat up on a lot of these pitches. It just there was a couple of hard hits, 102 off the cutter and 99 off of his sinker. So I mean, those are the two biggest hits. But it seems like more of just command going into this outing with those 4 walks, and you're facing a tighter strike zone where you do have ABS, and then you also have challenges for half the week, and it just, it's one of those things for JP France. It's just going to be something he has to get over the hump with it. We know he had such a strong season last year. Pitching the whole year was huge for him after not pitching in the major leagues the year before. And it's right now, it's just trying to get back on that track. And, with Hunter Brown also struggling in the majors, you got to wonder if both of them maybe are pitching, back-to-back days here in Sugarland soon, trying to get back on track.
No, yeah, definitely. And so Christian Javier, I think Christian Javier is actually pretty close to coming back, and that might be one of the things that the Astros need. Of course, gosh, we have to hand it to the bullpen, and it seems like the bullpen's a problem, not the starters. But how did Javier do? And remember, folks, we're not worried about results necessarily for someone like Javier coming off of, this little minor IL stint, because remember, Justin Verlander had the 2 starts and he got roughed up, but then when he came back, and he's been excellent. So, what is the book on Javier with his first start down there with the Hooks in Corpus?
Yeah, Javier went 3 1/3 in his start. Gave up 3 runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Another pretty loaded box score coming out of that one. But just like you said, I mean, the box score usually doesn't matter for a lot of these major league starters, especially veterans. And, you can call Javier a veteran now after, being a part of the rotation the last 3 or 4 seasons. And it's just, you always want to look at it like, oh, he's struggling against guys that are 22, 23, 24 years old. No, it's not that. It's not really what it means. They're trying to get the feel for their pitches back. They're trying to, face live hitters. He threw 57% of his pitches for strikes. Maybe he's looking for a little bit more consistency in his command before he comes back to the major leagues. And that's just what you want to look for when you're watching these games. It's never good to just look at the box score for any major league rehab. And like you said with Verlander, it's a similar thing. They don't really care about the outcome. The Astros don't. It's just, how are they feeling in these starts? And I wish we had a little bit of Samant just to see how he was doing with his velocity and, how hard hit some of these pitches were, or how some of these balls were. But just for right now, I mean, it didn't look like a terrible outing. It's just trying to get everything back up. I also just noticed, I didn't get to watch this game, but manager Joe Thon was ejected in the 4th inning of this game. Yeah, I don't know if that's dirt while Javier was pitching, if he was arguing balls and strikes or something.
Wow.
But I just noticed that.
Well, speaking of arguing with umpires, I don't know if you caught much of the Astros game today, but there was a similar balk call when that Ryan Stanek got last year. They called it on Brian Abreu, which advanced the runner to second, which actually allowed the Mariners to tie. And it was the same umpire who did that. And I watched it over and over and over. And of course, people are either, yes, that's definitely a balk, or no, it's not a balk. And from what I understand, it is a judgment call. And, I'll just say this. Look, I don't think Joe Espada is the fiery guy that people want him to be. I don't think that's his personality. But if I see an umpire telling me to hold up and stay in the dugout, I'm coming out of the dugout. I am not staying. If you tell me to stay put, I am definitely leaving the dugout. I mean, I wasn't a rebel growing up, but as an adult, as a grown, man, I'm coming out. And I would have loved to seen Joe Espada jump out of that dugout and just give that umpire what for. But I guess that's just not his game. I remember that, and I saw that today. I was like, oh man, the same dude bit us in the rear. And, to kind of relate that back to the minor leagues, I remember Jimmy Endersby when he was with the Astros. When I had talked to him after we had him on the show, he was like, I need to go find somebody. And I was like, what? So he came back. He's like, I had to go tell an umpire what I thought, because he threw off a whole inning for me. I gave up 3 runs, and it all happened to do with these 2 pitches that he called balls that were strikes. And we're seeing less of that in the minor leagues. And I kind of want to talk about what you think of the ABS system towards the end of the show. But right now, I want to ask you about Jesús Bastidas. Who is this guy?
Yeah, before you do that, I did want to
Yeah.
just throw it out
Oh,
there
yeah.
that Joe Thon was ejected at the bottom of the 4th inning. Had nothing to do with Javier. I mean, that's
Okay.
good. I doubt he would even argue balls and strikes for a guy on a rehab assignment, and they wouldn't even care. But yeah, Jesus Bastidas. I mean, it's been. You texted me. We were both at a game. It was against Las Vegas Aviators early on in the Sugarland season. He asked me, what's kind of like the game plan with Jesus Bastidas when he was signed. In the back of my mind, it looked like a depth guy. I actually had him on my list of non-roster invitees. Didn't get that invite to big league camp, but still made some contributions in the Grapefruit League. Got called up a couple times to play, and it looked like a guy the Astros were kind of bullish about. Maybe something they saw in his swing, something in his data, offensive data, because we know he can play defense. He's played all across the infield, second, short, and third as a natural shortstop, and it looked like maybe there was something there that they liked about him, and it was, I mean, it's true. They like something offensively because now he has a 274 batting average and a 917 OPS through 28 games this season at AAA in the PCL, and that's not even. There's no question. It's the best offensive season he's had in his
Yeah.
professional career, and it's at the AAA level, and it's only a second time there. He started last year in Somerset, which is the AA affiliate of the Yankees before he went up to AAA, and right now, this was brought up to me that the exit velocities aren't, as impressive. His highest exit velocity is 108 miles per hour.
Okay.
Nothing's really approaching that 110, but he's been pretty consistent hitter. I think that's something that needs to be said about Jesus Bastidas is that he has 31 RBIs through
I
28
see
games.
that.
And I
Yeah.
was a little bit surprised by that. I know that maybe there's not as much stock in there. Maybe the thing you think you don't really like right now is the 30 strikeouts to 10 walks, but it's been a very good season for Jesus Bastidas. And I don't know if he'll force anyone's hands. I mean, if injuries arise, we're talking about with Pedro Leon kind of pushing his way on. There's just, a handful of guys already on the 40-man roster that do the same thing. And Greg Kessinger when he's healthy. David Hensley's there. Amaya's on there now on the 40-man roster. He's in the major
Right.
leagues now. So, can he do something down there in AAA to push it, or is he just kind of going to remain down there like an Alex Degote type back in 2021 and 2022,
Right.
having these pretty good seasons in the PCL, but not really getting that call.
Or it's like, who's the next Brian De La Cruz? I
Mhm.
still kind of wish we would have held on to him. I really liked him. I
Jesse Baker
really
liked him too.
do. I Oh, he
Jesse
did.
Baker liked him.
Yeah, I know. And so I guess he got trumped on that. But hey, after this next commercial about Yahoo Finance, because it's a great product. I want people to be using it. I want to share my thoughts a little bit on Bastidas, and then I want to talk about maybe a few pitching prospects, maybe some hitters to watch. This episode is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. Behind every great investor is Yahoo Finance. That's right. Here is the thing. Yahoo Finance can consolidate all your multiple accounts into one view, into one hub, and access expert analysis you need. I know that for me and my investments with Schwab and my 401k with Fidelity, that I've been using Yahoo Finance to consolidate them in one place, which has made it incredibly easy to manage them. For over 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspective, analyst ratings, and so much more. Securely link your brokerage accounts and unify them for your wealth, your 401k, and so much more. So right now, for your comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, Yahoo Finance, the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Yeah, Kenny, with Jesus Bastidas, I'm sitting here looking through his numbers throughout the season, and he already has 11 doubles. The most doubles that he's hit in his career in a season is 18. He already has, let's see, okay, he didn't have any triples, but hey, that's okay. Triples are hard to come by. But like you said, he's got 31 hits, 31 RBI. He has 30 strikeouts, but he's still, I mean, his OPS is literally 200 points higher than what it normally is. And this kid really, for all intents and purposes, like you said, is making the most of his opportunities in AAA. And you and I talked about him just off air and off record. Like, I was like, who is this guy? They're like, well, he's a guy, and it's kind of like low risk, high reward. Amaya comes in because he was he waived by was it the Marlins?
Yep.
And so he picked him up. Some other news. Did you see that? I believe Arise is now a Padre, Luis, the former batting champion. So I mean, the Marlins are making moves in their organization for sure. It seems like they're selling everything off. But let's talk about pitching prospects. We've got some guys, Bloss. We've got Blubagh. We've got Gordon. Tell us about some pitching prospects that are maybe they're not like world beaters right now, but they're definitely guys we need to pay attention to.
Yeah, I'll start off with just two quick hits on guys that are at the lower levels in single A and high A. And one guy that I was kind of bullish about last summer when he was drafted, and he was in the 18th round. You look at some of those guys at the end. The Astros have done pretty well. Ryan Robleski, Pascal Ferreras, John Garcia. They've made up for some of those 19th and 20th round picks the last couple of years. And then you look at Derek True, who probably shouldn't be an Astro right now if he didn't like. I guess this is kind of a weird story, but Tim Kostick, who was the scout, if he didn't reach out to him and notice that he was back from an injury, he probably wouldn't be an Astro right now. He did like a last sweep of the guys that he was interested in the Pacific Northwest area and the California area that he was looking over, and he saw Derek True was back from injury, noticed he was pitching well. It's like, hey, come out to this showcase, pitches well in the showcase, impresses the Astros, and they take him in the 18th round. And that was just kind of where Derek True came from. And he's having a pretty good season right now in single A. He has a 2.49 ERA in 21 2/3 innings and 27 strikeouts to 6 walks. Just a good pickup so far out of the 18th round. Another guy in that same draft class is James Hicks, who was in the 13th round. When I first saw James Hicks, I thought maybe he would profile a little bit better as a reliever, maybe give you some long innings. That's not the case. He has been pitching really well. He's not even in single A anymore. He posted a 0.50 ERA in 18 innings with 25 strikeouts. Maybe the walks were a little bit of a thorn at 7, but it was still just a great line for him. The only run that scored was on a homer. Gets up to high A this week, and in his first start, he throws 5 innings of 1-run ball with 4 strikeouts and 4 walks. This is just another pickup. The Astros have been, drafting well at the pitching position the last 3 years, and so this is just another 2 guys from that draft class. And then just the star of the class right now is Jake Bloss. This guy, third round pick. When I first heard about him, I thought maybe he's a little bit older because he's pitched at 2 colleges already, not JUCOs or anything like that. He pitched at 2 different universities at Lafayette, and then went to Georgetown and was the Big East Pitcher of the Year. He's only 22 years old, and he'll be 23 in June 23rd. This guy is just doing it all right now. He went up to Double-A on Sunday and made his Double-A debut. He threw 6 scoreless innings with 2 hits and no walks and 6 strikeouts. I think it's kind of fair to say if he stays on this trajectory, there's no argument on who's the top pitching prospect in the system come July. I think it's going to be him because you'll see Spencer Getty graduate, and I think he's going to leap guys like Blubagh right now. Blubagh is struggling a little bit just with the PCL, getting used to that. And I thought Blubagh moved fast. Jake Bloss is moving even faster than him. He just seems very developed for his age and where he's at. And I think it's safe to say if he stays healthy, gets through the season, he's getting invited to big league camp next year just based on what he's doing.
So Bloss, I know the guys that started what's called the Side Retired podcast, and a couple of them go to Georgetown. And they're like, oh, let me tell you about this guy. He's a stud. This dude can throw gas. They said we loved when he got on the mound. And so he was all the rave in the Big East whenever he was pitching there. And so you love to hear that. And, this is encouraging, Kenny, because all we hear about is how horrible and how awful and how bottom of the barrel the Astros farm system is. And I remember throwing that stuff at one of the Astros, player development guys. And they were just like, yeah, we don't listen to all that stuff. Like he goes, we know what we have. We know what we got, but because all the rankings, I think, they're based on signing bonuses and projectability, or maybe some hype, plays a part in that. But as far as hitters go, I know we talked about Leon. I know we talked about Bastidas. What about guys like Will Wagner, guys that a lot of people want to see do well? Who are some hitters that we need to be looking for this year? If we're if someone goes to Asheville, someone goes to Corpus, or someone comes to Sugarland, Who should they be looking at?
Yeah, I think for Will Wagner, it's a little bit of a struggle right now. We know he hits the ball really hard, but he sometimes just hits it at people too much. He hits a lot of line drives. He's hitting 240 right now at the 690 one OPS. But the big thing that keeps sticking out to me is the 21 walks to 11 strikeouts. The guy still has great plate discipline. It's just trying to get that ball to fall. He has 1 home run this season and 4 doubles, and he was a double machine last year with 20 doubles to his 7 home runs. So I think, if he can start to get that ball to fall, start beating, some of the shifts that the outfilders might have, or just the way the infielders are positioned. I mean, he can hit the ball hard. If he can get on the ground or get into the grass in the outfield, those numbers will go up, and we don't really have to worry too much about what Will can do because we know the projectability he has. Jacob Melton really kind of turning around his season right now. He's hitting 276. He had a 3-hit game this past week. Was I believe a triple shy of the cycle. Actually might have been a single. I think he had a triple in that game. I'm gonna go back and check, but yeah, I mean the home runs are coming. We know that he's been kind of like a thief on the base paths, and he's a bigger guy too. He's kind of like that Kyle Tucker build where he might be a little bit bigger, but he can in height and size wise, but he still can steal bases. He had 5 last month in April. He has 1 in May. I'm going back to that game right now, and he was a double or a triple. Yeah, it was a triple short of the cycle. I mean, he's having some good games right now, OPS over 800. And I still think there's a little bit of time. Need to get some roster spacing figured out before they do send him up to AAA at some point. We battled, I think, a minor injury last year. I think he missed like a week or 2. Got kind of up there late to AA, later than some of the other guys, and still played well. Just needs to continue what he's doing. And I mean, roster spacing will figure out. 2 guys I also just want to throw out there about Asheville, because it's a fun place to be. Jerron Williams and Pascal Ferreras are both hitting over 300 right now. And Jerron Williams at 370 and Pascal at 309. Just two middle infielders that are doing a lot right now to the class, or the 2023 class, with Jerron coming in the 9th round and Pascal out of the 20th round. I mean, there's guys in the system who are turning heads even at not the premier spots in the draft.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I just it's funny. I'm blown away by how much I mean, because keeping up, look, I think keeping up with one team is pretty stinking. It's not difficult, but keeping up with all of it and the movements and who's doing what and knowing all that stuff, it just, we always enjoy having you on the show because your knowledge really is second to none. Jimmy definitely has a big asset in you. I know that you guys have helped grow that site to like probably I would say the best Astros minor league source out there. I mean, I know I don't go anywhere else when I want to know about Astros minor leagues. So before we, wrap this up, do you know anything? Have you heard anything about Jose Abreu? I know when he's in Florida, he's at the complex. It's basically, from what I understand, he's taking at bats, but he's not doing it in a game environment. Like, it's not a competitive environment. It's just basically he's lost and he's trying to find himself. What do you know about that move? I mean, can you give us any insight? Because a lot of us don't really understand what's even going on.
Yeah, I probably don't know. I mean, I don't know more than what they told the Astros. I can kind of give you a feel of what happens when you go down there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kind of hitting that reset button. Roy Halladay did it a long time ago, and Alek Manoah of the Blue Jays did it last season, and we know he's coming back on the rehab assignment right now. He actually made his season debut here on Sunday when we're recording. It's just one of those things where you hit the reset. You're going to keep struggling at the major league level and not helping the team and just digging yourself a deeper hole. Or you're going to go down and just hit the reset with all these coaches and coordinators that know everything about you, have all the data, and nothing will count. I mean, there's nothing, no stats will count against you and account against your reputation in the league. So it's, it's really good on him. Yeah, I read those quotes and read the stories about Jose Abreu, knowing that, it's a mental toll that, puts yourself under to do that kind of stuff, and to be able to be that humble and, go down there and, try to fix himself so he can contribute to a team that has playoff aspirations, good on him. But right now, the FCL opening day was on Saturday. He wasn't in that lineup. I don't know if we'll expect him to see him in a lineup that soon. It would be such a very quick turnaround if they figured something out and wanted him to test it out. But he can face pitchers all he wants down there, and it won't go anywhere on a minor league stats sheet. That they'll just keep the records of how he did, TrackMan data just to see how he's working back. But I think it'll just be some time to, revamp the swing, figure out what's going wrong. And there's really no rush, especially if you see guys like Joey Loperfido and Trey Cabbage and others kind of step up in lieu of him. And we know John Singleton is doing well right now too.
Yeah, John Singleton. I mean, I talked about that on the latest Locked on Astros. If y'all didn't catch it, you have to catch that. Dude, he hit like 285 over this homestand, had 3 home runs, had 8 RBI. I mean, not only with the bat, but with the glove. Just looked phenomenal. And so, Kenny, thanks again. This is always great. I know I always get my fill, and I honestly, I feel good about the conversation, but I always walk away going, gosh, I need to learn so much more about the minor leagues. But
yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm doing this too, and I'm looking at him like, I could, prepare myself a little bit more, even learn more about the system. And I'm going to go back and even question some other things and look more at the data. Because the AAA level, having Savant is a nice tool. And if anyone just wants to know that stuff, you can look it up yourself, have fun with it, and find exit velocities, pitch velocities, hard hit balls, do all you want, and learn a lot about this team and just your organizations, whatever organization you follow.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, thanks, Kenny. Y'all make sure you guys follow him at the Vandalorian on X. Follow Astros Future. Look for any articles written by him. Just go read them. I promise you will just love that, especially if you're a baseball fan like me. So, hey, man, for myself, for Eric Heisman, who's not here right now, for Kenny from Astros Future, and all of us here at Locked on Astros, just remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out. Listen to us on your way to work, on your way home from work, and make sure that you remember that we are your team every single day. Y'all have a good one, and go Stros.